Greetings and welcome to the Saco City Council meeting for Monday, September 12, 2022. Call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Let the record reflect that all members of the council are present with the exception of Councilor Archer, who has been excused. With that, I'd like to invite you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Under General this evening, we have two important items, and the first up is it's my great pleasure to recognize Eagle Scout Ben Moore. City of Saco, Office of the Mayor, proclamation honoring Ben Moore, Eagle Scout. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America has a history of more than 100 years of helping to shape and mold the values of characters of youths. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America continues to help strengthen youth, families, and communities. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America encourages its adults and youth members to live in the worldwide principles of the organization, including duty to God and respect for individual beliefs, loyalty to one's country and respect for its laws, strength of world friendship and scouting brotherhood, service to others, community development, and universal regard for the Scout Promise and law as a life guide. Whereas a ceremony of honor was held to celebrate Ben Moore, Boy Scout Troop 310, for attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. Whereas Ben's Eagle Scout project was dedicated to cleaning up local beaches and creating pitch-in pail receptacles. In recognition of this achievement, now therefore, I, William Doyle, Mayor of Saco, do hereby express my best wishes and congratulations to Ben Moore as he embarks on new adventures in the days ahead, given under my hand and seal of the City of Saco on this 12th day of September, 2022. I'd like to invite Ben Moore to come up and say a few words, and then we will give him a well-deserved round of applause.
First and foremost, thank you for inviting me to organize me annually offering scouts, not just that I have done, but what of scouting I've done for the community. I greatly appreciate it, and it's extremely important to see the youth and really the future that's going to lead this town, really this whole country one day. And we thank you for having the leaders of Saco have done to keep that spirit alive. And of course, thank you to my family for everything that I have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, if you'd stay right there. Congratulations. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Thank you very much. Up next is recognition of Constitution Week proclamation. Constitution Week, whereas September 17, 2022 marks the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document in its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebration which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuance of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, William Doyle, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the Mayor of the City of Saco in the State of Maine, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week and ask for our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of your liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Saco, affixed the 12th day of September in the year of our Lord, 2022. That brings us to item 5, committee correspondence to council. Any committee correspondence this evening? Moving on, That brings us to item 6, public comment. Several individuals have signed up for public comment. Up first is Barbara Coleman. Those folks coming up to the podium, please speak directly into the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes and address the mayor and not individual councilors. Thank you very much.
Barbara Coleman, 386 Buxton Road, Saco, Maine. Good evening, Mayor, councilors, and citizens of Saco. I'm here tonight because on the August 22nd, 2022 meeting, I listened to an individual that is sit before you on the dais do a dissertation for 10 minutes in regards to whether or not it is the responsibility of the mayor to appoint or not particular individuals that has been afforded to him via the charter. During that 10-minute dissertation, the individual indicated he had emailed 5 additional councilors. Now, I'm sitting here and I continued to listen to the recording for the evening, and I heard 2 were never emailed, and that was councilors from Ward 2 and 3. So 5 from 2 makes it 5 individuals, but if you're one of the councilors is the one sending the email, who was the 5th person that received an email on the council? Because there's only 7 people. So mathematically, it does not make sense. What this creates is a clandestine meeting. What happened is a meeting took place of the public that wasn't publicized for anyone to attend. Now, there's been discussion back and forth with several individuals as to whether a meeting takes place or not via email if no one responds. That's not what it says in the public law. Training has been given to all councilors. There was training on January 3rd, 2022, and this particular councilor had an independent training that was certified to, because I have copies of everyone's certifications from the prior year. The issue that is at hand is that I understand that people weren't certain individuals on boards and council and on committees. What we have to recognize is there are a lot of individuals in this community that are new to the community who want the opportunity to also serve. They moved here for a reason, and if we just have everyone from the past being the people that are serving, where are we going to ever look to the future to move ahead? So I would hope that the council that received a complete packet of public information and what is a public proceeding that I sent tonight, and I'm waiting for a response from my FOIA to see who that 5th person is. I look forward to finding that out, and hopefully I will hear back from the state of Maine whether or not an email has to just be exchanged back to truly make it a public meeting, and once notified, I will notify the council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Up next is Ann Ross.
Hi, Ann Ross, 56 Ocean Greens Drive. I'm here tonight to speak about the Taylor, Berry, and Ocean Greens acceptance. I know this has been an ongoing thing, and we really would just like to strive to have that resolved. When we bought the home, we were told it was going to be a public road, a city-owned road. For us, it's very important. It's a safety issue. We have a special needs son. I have a son with Down syndrome who has a lot of health issues. And it's important that the road is maintained, because I need to make sure that access is needed if EMT comes or anything like that. And I know the remaining issue is the trailhead, and we just feel that that should be a separate thing from the city acceptance. That's something between Mike Mazoian and the city. So if you could consider that, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Jeff Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors. My name is Jeff Wright, 53 Ocean Greens Drive in Saco. Here also to talk about the acceptance of Taylorberry Lane and Ocean Greens. I was here for the city council meeting last month and where the issue was briefly discussed, and I'm also thankful for some time we spent with Councilor Berman in the last few weeks about this issue. When the homeowners bought into this development, there's 16 of us, we did have expectation of this being a public street. We paid lot fees, we've been paying taxes, and we're happy to do that, as I said in the email that I sent into the council. But we do have expectations of this being a public street, as we had anticipated and been told. By looking at the packet, perhaps the issues are now resolved, but to the extent that they might not be, the homeowners are not in any position to solve whatever issues may be remaining. And I would respectfully ask that if there are any issues remaining, that those be taken up between the developer and the city, and you allow the streets to be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Ray LaFortune.
My name is Ray LaFortune. I live at 6 Taylorberry Lane. I'm a longtime Saco resident, senior citizen, obviously. I'm here to support the agenda item pertinent to approval of streets in Juniper Knoll 2, specifically Taylorberry Lane, on which I live, and the extension of Ocean Greens Drive. 3 years ago, we sold a home we were in for 45 years. It was getting too big for us. And so we wanted to have a home that would be more suitable for an elderly couple. So we built a home on Taylorberry. Shortly after that move, Doris, my wife, was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. The progression of that disease led us to rely on delivery of oxygen tanks and special medicines that could only be acquired through the mail. We've had need of 2 emergency ambulance calls. Last winter was one of extreme anxiety for us, dealing with a developer who was reluctant to plow. He was reluctant. Poor plowing, we lived with it, but it was a life-threatening situation for us. My wife passed last month. I'm now in the home alone. I don't want another winter wondering about services that I might need. So I was glad to see that this issue has come back to the council on the agenda tonight. So what I would ask is that with an eye to safety, that you would approve as public streets, Taylorberry Lane, and the extension to Ocean Greens Drive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next is Rick Millard.
Rick Millard. I live at 26 Lower Beach Road, right on the fringe of Camp Ellis. As many of you know, I have worked as a member of the Shoreline Commission for a long time. We've made some progress as far as the jetty is concerned, but it has been in fits and starts. We have an opportunity at this point to take a giant step forward and actually get something that we may be able to implement. I urge you to endorse the letter for the Corps. And I do it as a citizen. I also do it as the chairman of the Shoreline Commission. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes those that have signed up to speak to the city council. If there's anybody else who would like to speak before the council, please come forward and be heard. Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, my name is Victor Hershaft. I reside at 51 Ocean Greens Drive. I am also with this family of HOA members that are my neighbors. Take a moment and think about what they said tonight. It's very important. I myself am a 30-year retired veteran. I also worry about getting plowed, getting necessities that we depend upon our builder. But what really bothers me is what goes on that we have to worry that bad with my fellow neighbors. It's important that we think about separating this division. I know it seems hard, but the road's got to be something, no matter what characteristic to it, and the path has to be something else, and that characteristic can be taken care of elsewise. My second suggestion is, when we take care of the path with the characteristic, it's not with just 4 people on a napkin down on Taylor Berry that's only 15 feet wide. It's with us in front of everyone that we have some suggestions. We as a HOA want to work with the city to get this resolved. We want to be accepted, we want to be full in. We appreciate the, being able to express our opinions tonight, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. If there's anyone else who would like to speak, please come forward. Seeing nobody seeking recognition, moving on from public comment to item 7, approval of the minutes for August 8th and August 22nd, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Councilor Hatch, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Berman. Any discussion on the minutes? Roll call vote on the minutes. Councilor Purdy.
Yes.
Councilor Gunn.
Yes.
Councilor Berman.
Yes.
Councilor Hatch.
Yes.
Councilor McPhail.
Yes.
Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Brings us to item 8, consent items. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. On page 2, A, asset forfeiture, State versus Sweat, and item B on page 6, solid waste permit for Doyon's Property Maintenance and Landscaping Incorporated. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Councilor Johnston, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McPhail. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Roll call vote on the consent agenda. Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 to approve the consent agenda. Brings us to item 9, action items. We have item A is a preliminary year-end budget update. I believe I would like to invite up the Finance Director, Glenys Salas, to take us through that. My apologies for getting the wrong title.
That's
Budget director is now.
budget director.
Budget director.
We'll
Thank you.
simplify it to that.
Thank you.
So the actual budget review came out this morning simply due to the fact that I had several last-minute adjustments coming out of the annual audit, and I wanted to make sure the numbers presented to council and the public were as accurate as possible. So I'm going to attempt to project the report, the data report, to our screens. Let's see how it goes. Great. And that is a bit of an eye chart, but an attempt has been made. I'll read through the narrative as well. First of all, disclosure, finance is still in the process of finalizing the end-of-year reporting for the audit, so these numbers are subject to change. The City of Saco has ended fiscal year 2022 in a strong financial position. The undesignated fund balance is projected to be at 17.49%. This forecast is subject to change as end-of-year entries and review are still taking place. 17.49% is above the ordinance mandated maximum of 16.67%. However, the council may remember there was some budgeted use of undesignated fund balance as part of our 23 budget, so we'll have to revisit that, those numbers in January after the annual financials come out, and at that time, council may have the opportunity to expend additional funds on qualified projects. Expenses were almost exactly on target, just $110,130, or 0.7% below budget. That is inclusive of approved encumbrances. Revenues exceeded budget by $639,338, or 1%. This was largely due to state revenue sharing, which exceeded budget by $1.4 million, as well as property taxes, which exceeded budget by $629,000. On the expense side, city administration, communications, council budget, county tax, Finance, Fire and Ambulance, Human Resources, IT, Parks and Rec, Planning, Public Works, the school budget, and supported entities were all considered on target because they were at or within 5% of their respective appropriations. I'll go through the other departments in detail. The assessing department came in 53% under budget. We've talked about this a few times. The revaluation was postponed, and therefore funds were not expended. This program was budgeted from undesignated fund balance, so there was no impact to taxpayers from not moving that project forward. Capital projects came in a little bit above budget, $4,009. This was due to inflated vehicle prices. 2022 financing was a little higher than budgeted. City clerk, 34% under budget. General assistance was underutilized through the year. Seasonal wages for the election were also under budget due to lower turnout in an off-cycle election. Code enforcement, 4% above budget. This was related to the departmental restructure, which resulted in a higher net total of wages. This overspend was offset by higher than budgeted revenues in that department. Contingency came in 8% under budget. This was largely due to tax abatements, which came in $38,534 under budget this year. So the assessing department's done a really good job on that. Economic development, there was a small amount that's sort of just been rolled forward from when economic development was budgeted in the general fund. No roll forwards are going to carry forward to fiscal year 2023. That department is fully funded by TIFs. Fringe benefits came in 3% above budget. Liquidation of excess vacation balances in December of 2021 drove this department over budget. Future year payouts and rollovers are capped as well as budgeted in the annual process. Grants, we had a total of $126,847 in grant-funded expenditures in fiscal year 2022. So congratulations to all the department heads who work very hard on getting that grant money every year. Police department came in 2% over budget. In order to offset the cost of the dispatch consoles, this was a mid-year budget amendment. The police department was reduced in anticipation of savings on base pay lines. Those savings did not materialize to the extent that we had anticipated, so this department did end the year a little over budget. Solicitor came in 7% over budget. Solicitor costs were significantly lower than fiscal year 2020 and 2021, so we have worked hard on getting that under budget, but it still came in a little higher than appropriated. TIF transfers came in 6% over budget. The final assessor's valuation of TIFs came in higher than forecasted at budget time. Transfers, there was $7,071 expended due to payroll and other adjustments. This was offset by unallocated revenues. Are there any questions on the expense side? Let's see if we can, here we go. So revenues. Building rentals, finance fees, ambulance revenues, recreation fees, and property taxes were all on target because they were at or within 5% of budget. Go through the rest of these in detail. The assessor, there was $15,900 of tree growth tax unbudgeted. The city clerk revenues came in 30% under forecast. Again, that's just lower reimbursements from the state on those underutilized general assistance funds. Code enforcement came in 9% over forecast, so they were slow through the year, and then we had several large development projects that were billed close to the end of the year, which more than offsets the slight departmental overspend on the expense side. Communications franchise fees came in 2% below budget. So this has, over the last couple of years, been above budget. This is the first year that it slipped. Fiscal year 2022 was the lowest for franchise fees in years. Cord cutting is beginning to have an impact on this line. I have been in touch with Emily Roy, communications director, and I know they are continuing to work on renegotiating that contract. So perhaps those revenues will rebound in the next fiscal year. Grants, we did have $110,094 in grants and reimbursements. You'll notice there is a net difference of $16,000. This has to do with grant revenues that were booked in 2021, but the associated expenses were not expended until 2022. There was an encumbrance that rolled forward those anticipated expenses from the previous year. Interest earnings did end the year 21% above forecast. This number is another number that's been very light versus previous years. Rising interest earnings in the last quarter, as well as purchase card rebates, did improve this line. Earnings are expected to be much stronger in fiscal year 2023, as the city is moving to select an investment advisor shortly after an exhaustive RFP process, and those interest earnings should help offset tax appropriation for the 2024 budget process. Planning, 16% above forecast. Planning and finance are working continuously on how best to bill and track revenues under our cost recovery ordinance. Earnings are expected to be a bit stronger in 23, or I apologize. We are looking at some improved processes to stabilize these revenues for tracking. Police Department, 62% below forecast. Parking revenues came in a little bit light, and the TA SRO program has been canceled due to TA budget issues. Public Works, that's mostly motor vehicle excise. In those revenues, that was 6% above forecast. Higher prices for vehicles are boosting this line. I'm sure we're all seeing that. State assistance, 35% above forecast. So the state's revenue sharing is now fully funded in the new governor's budget, and we did budget at that higher level for the next fiscal year. So it's unlikely we'll enjoy another 1.4 million surplus, but we'll see. Unallocated, that came in $10,083 above budget. Again, there was an accounting adjustment to clean up payroll withholdings, and those extra revenues are mostly offset by some unbudgeted transfer expenses. Are there any questions about the budget update? Thank you
I
very
don't
much.
see any questions. Thank you very much.
Of course.
That brings us to item B, approval of the annual report on page 8 in your packet assigned to Councilor McPhail.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. According to MRSA Title 30-A, subsection 2801, each municipality shall publish a complete report annually that shall contain records of financial transactions, statements of assets and liabilities, and a post-audit report. In addition to the required documents, each department has prepared a summary of the departmental operations for the fiscal year 2022. Once adopted by the City Council, this document will be available on the city's website, and an official printed copy will be available for review in the city clerk's office. Please accept our submission on behalf of the City Administrator, Ken Rath. Be it resolved that the City Council accepts the fiscal year 2022 annual report as submitted by the City Administrator. I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor McPhail, second by Councilor Johnston to approve the annual report. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I just want to say great job to everyone that put that annual report together. It's a lot of work, I'm sure, by every department, and so thank you and kudos to the departments for getting that all together for us. So with that, a roll call vote of approving the annual report. Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to item C, a first reading petition for zoning map amendment, rezone a portion of 32 Lincoln Road from rural conservation RC to medium-density residential, MDR zone, on page 9 in your packet assigned to Councilor Purdy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. By petition, property owner Linda Poland requests the City Council to amend the zoning map to rezone a portion of 32 Lincoln Road, map 101, lot 24, from the rural conservation zone to the medium-density residential zone. The subject property abuts an MDR district. The Planning Board voted 5-0 to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council during their July 19th meeting. Be it ordered that the City Council approve the first reading of the amendment to map 101, lot 24 of Saco's zoning map and schedule a public hearing for September 26, 2022.
Motion's been made by Councilor Purdy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McPhail. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote. Counselor Purdy?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor McPhail?
Yes.
Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to item D, a first reading amendment to Section 7.1 of Saco zoning ordinance for small-scale renewable energy facilities on page 10 in your packet and assigned to Counselor Berman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Saco's zoning ordinance and other land use regulations do not contain provisions for regulating or permitting small-scale renewable energy facilities, such as solar arrays on private properties, despite their potential to negatively impact nearby areas. Staff propose amendments to Saco's zoning ordinance, which would minimize potential impacts from these facilities by establishing minimum setbacks, height limits, screening requirements, and permitting procedures. After holding a public hearing during the July 19th and August 2nd meetings, Saco's Planning Board voted 5-0 to forward a positive recommendation to City Council to adopt the attached amendments. Be it ordered that the City Council approve the first reading of the amendments to Section 7.1 of Saco's zoning ordinance for small-scale energy facilities and schedule a public hearing for September 26th, 2022.
Second.
Motion's been made by Counselor Berman, second by Counselor Johnston. Any discussion? Counselor Berman.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank City Planner Garnham for his swift attention to this and putting together what I think is an adequate and solid ordinance. I'd also like to thank the residents of Thunder Road who first brought this issue to my attention and continue to be in touch. I appreciate the feedback and I'd like to report that they find this ordinance adequate for their purposes and to protect what they were trying to protect.
Thank you. Any, Counselor Johnston?
Thank you. Yeah, along those same lines as Councilor Berman, I think that it's actually rather remarkable how we went from an anything-goes system to a pretty clear and concise set of standards. So I appreciate the work that city staff has done. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote. Counselor Purdy?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor McPhail?
Yes.
Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Brings us to item E, one reading, additional funding for the business partnership agreement, Saco Route 1 and Flag Pond Road, page 14 in your packet and assigned to Counselor McPhail.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In April of 2019, Hancock Lumber entered into a business partnership agreement with the Maine DOT and the City of Saco for traffic signalization and construction of associated turn lanes at the intersection of Route 1 and Flag Pond Road. At that time, the project was estimated to cost $480,000, with the cost being split equally between the MDOT, Hancock Lumber, and the City of Saco, $160,000 each. Many factors have affected the ability for the project to stay on budget, and the revised project estimate is $817,335. The project has been bid and awarded to Electric Light, so this project cost should not be further impacted by inflation or other factors. Per the terms of the original agreement, Hancock Lumber is responsible for the overage, but given the extent of the increase, this would be cost prohibitive. In August of 2022, the Maine DOT agreed to provide an additional $112,445 above its original award of $160,000, representing 33.33% of the revised project cost. In order to enable this project, Hancock Lumber has also requested that the City of Saco contribute an additional $112,445 towards the project to maintain the equally split three-way partnership. The city would pay for the increase from the Economic Development Fund. I move to increase the city's contribution to the traffic signalization and construction of associated turn lanes at the intersection of Route 1 and Flag Pond Road and fully fund the city's share of the cost coverage by contributing an additional $112,445 to the project from the Economic Development Fund.
Second.
Motion's been made by Counselor McPhail, second by Counselor Johnston. Any discussion on this item? Counselor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. I just want to go on record indicating that the broad benefit to the city of Saco on this particular business partnership agreement is fairly substantial. And I think that has to weigh into
our consideration here, and I am fully supportive of this motion to the extent that it will have a very wide benefit to the city. Thank you.
Councilor Berman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've actually been a bit on the fence on this issue, but ultimately agree with Councilor Hatch that it's really the broad benefits to a number of businesses and economic development in the city that push me in favor of supporting these additional funds to support this project.
Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that I understand has been some reservations among some councilors. I know that, Councilor Archer isn't here tonight, but he was definitely one when we previously discussed this. And I think, 9 times out of 10, I would probably side on that side of the fence as far as, accountability and holding developers accountable to what they originally agreed to. However, in this particular case, I think it's a rather unique situation, and we can't lose sight of why we were here in the first place. And, a lot of those sitting up here weren't on council at the time, but Hancock Lumber was presented with an issue that they had no knowledge of until after they had purchased the land. It was originally on the original subdivider to install this traffic light. It got pushed off and down to them. They came to the city, they requested some assistance. That's where the BPI came into play. So when I, as a sitting councilor at the time, agreed to it, my understanding was the 33.3%. So here we are, obviously the costs have gone up. I'm still inclined to say, hey, we should do our part, as has the state, and have agreed to that 33% and match it and, not put that burden back on Hancock Lumber. So, with that said, I'm supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote. Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Brings us to item F, one reading, petition for city acceptance of new public streets, Taylor Berry Lane and Ocean Greens Drive, Juniper Knolls 2 subdivision, page 15 in your packet and assigned to Councilor Purdy.
Mike Mazzone of Mazzone Development requests city acceptance of new public streets, Taylor Berry Lane, and an extension of Ocean Greens Drive, in accordance with Section 911 of Saco's subdivision ordinance and Chapter 186 of Saco City Code, city acceptance of improvements. These streets were approved as part of the Juniper Knolls 2 subdivision in 2016. The project included 16 residential lots on the new streets, which are accessed from Richards Way and Ocean Greens Drive, per the recorded subdivision plan. City Attorney Tim Murphy and City Engineer Joe LaVerrier determined the project to be complete and found the as-built plan, the meets and bounds description, and the deed of cession to be accurate and acceptable. The Planning Board voted 5-0 to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council during their July 19th meeting. I move to accept Taylor Berry Lane and the extension of Ocean Greens Drive as public city streets.
Motion's been made by Councilor Purdy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Berman. Any discussion? Councilor Berman and Councilor Hatch. Councilor Berman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've heard from a number of the residents of these streets tonight. We've received emails from them. I had the opportunity to meet with a number of them maybe a week or two ago. And as they've expressed to us tonight and in emails, the situation is rather dire. We have a situation in which a developer failed to meet the requirements of the subdivision approval, including the creation of a trailhead to connect to the Saco Bay trails. On the other hand, the people that suffer if the streets are not accepted are the homeowners and the homeowners association. And thus, in an effort to get the developer to meet their requirements, we risk causing the homeowners to pay the price, and that is simply not a fair situation. I think the city owes it to these taxpayers, these homeowners, to accept the city streets and separate the issues of the trailhead from the street acceptance. That being said, I do have some questions for city staff particularly about the current status of the performance guarantee and where that is. And I would like to have these two separate issues taken care of tonight, and so I'm wondering if we can get an update as to the status of that performance guarantee.
Thank you. City Administrator Kenrith, would it be prudent to bring up City Planner Garnham to speak on this issue?
Yeah, I think that would be great, please.
Welcome, City Planner Garnham. Do you have an answer on Councilor Berman's question?
I do, but not a 100% clear one. So the city held a letter of credit from a local bank in the amount of $700,000 that was provided by the developer. We have still been unable to verify the status of that letter of credit, and I understand that City Attorney Murphy has been in communication with the developer to restore some of those funds for the purpose of ensuring the trail construction is completed, trailhead construction is completed. I don't know the current status of that conversation or the letter of credit.
Thank you. Councilor Berman?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would like to move to amend the motion made to read, I move to accept Taylor Berry Lane and the extension of Oceans Green Drive as public city streets, and furthermore, require the city to hold any remaining performance guarantee or letter of credit until such time as the trailhead is complete.
Second.
Amendment was made by Councilor Berman, seconded by Councilor Johnston. On the amendment only here, is any discussion on the amendment only? Councilor Johnston, then Councilor Hatch. Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. So my question is in regards to this letter of credit or guarantee. How would the city, we're not talking about actual cash, so how would the city go about getting access to these funds if they were to need them? Because we've been down this path in several situations in my time here, and that's what I'm concerned with, because this is a sticky situation. I fully understand the plight of the public, and unfortunately, one of the few ways that this council or councils have to ensure these things are completed are via this street acceptance. And unfortunately, it's a catch-22 because, as Councilor Berman stated, it is the public that ends up being harmed. And honestly, I think developers know that. And so I don't have the answer for it. Maybe it's something that we address in the future, but I know during the Zurich process, I did bring forth, to one of your predecessors, an ordinance to kind of hold developers accountable. I was told at the time we needed to address other things. It's one of the many things that have been put on the shelf, so to speak. So that's something I think we need to look at, because again, this is at least the third or fourth that I can think of my time on council where it's the public that's left screaming that, hey, what about us, when clearly we have an issue. So I don't even know if you have an answer for how we go about getting those funds. Probably not. But that, again, I support the amendment, but my concern, given my own history with this, because I've done something similar, is that in the end, while they say that to hell with it, they don't actually care about that letter of credit, and nothing gets done, and then it's on the city to either do it or we just don't do it, which for me is equally bad, because why have it in the original plans if it's not going to get completed? Thank you.
Well, the ordinance does make it very clear that the reductions or cessation of the letter of credit can only be done with the authority of the city. And so there's clearly a violation of that code for a local bank to relinquish the letter of credit to the developer without that written permission from the city. And I can assure you that was not granted in this case. But the question of what is to be done in the event that this does happen, our first approach is to politely and civilly ask for some or all of those funds to be restored, and that's the step where we are today. Further action, I believe, we would probably defer to the city administrator's office and the city attorney.
And so I think that's my concern, is that ultimately this is probably a legal process. another legal process for the city to have to go down to try to, get these funds even if we needed them.
We hope it won't be. This developer does a lot of business in this city, and granted, there may be varying opinions out there around his reputation or quality of work. Based on my conversations with other staff, we do by and large have a solid and reliable relationship with this developer, and we think given that he has applications currently being submitted, that he will be willing to work with us on this to devise a practical solution.
Okay, and so, I'm sorry not to take all the time here, but you're answering the questions I actually have. So, again, like I said, I'm supportive of moving this forward, but, as a council, I need some kind of reassurance. So, from a staff standpoint, if yourself, Parks and Rec, could give us assurance that you will be looking, because at one point there was the possibility of moving the trailhead, I believe. I don't know where that is currently.
Yeah, so I got an update on that from the Parks and Recreation Director, Ryan Summer. It sounds like the property owner has all but approved this, and so it does need to work through a paper process that I don't know exactly what that means. But as of a couple weeks ago, it looks like this is fairly certain, and that with coordination with Saco Bay Trails, this new trailhead and spur connection to the existing trail network could be completed sometime next year.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, because again, in the past, we haven't had those types of assurances. So, I'm going to trust in staff to see it completed.
Yeah, Ryan is very actively working on this and has provided me with several updates already. So I'm very grateful to him for doing this, because of course it's not his responsibility to make sure that developments achieve all the standards and conditions of approval. But this seems to be a project that he and Saco Bay Trails has taken a specific interest in. So I hope that's helpful.
Very much so.
Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. So I just want to be clear, Jason, we're not clear that we have the letter of credit facility. So we're still waiting to figure out, or if it has disappeared, conversations between legal counsel of the bank and Tim. So I get that. It's been my experience that developers react better when you have leverage. And if you find that the financial leverage is not what we would like it to be, and this is probably more of a question for Tim, is whether or not we have any capability of suspending any other applications from this developer until this issue is in fact resolved.
Well, the developer does have to demonstrate technical and financial capacity when they submit projects to the planning board for review. And so that is one matter that could be taken up.
Yeah, link that to this project. Okay.
Any further questions on the amendment only now, on the amendment only? No further discussion on the amendment only. Roll call vote. Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
The amendment passes 6-0. So back to the main motion as amended. Councilor Hatch, you have the floor.
Actually, thank you, Mayor Doyle. My questions have been answered, so I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilor Johnston?
Just to piggyback off what Councilor Hatch had stated, that was previously the intent of the ordinance I had submitted, was ensuring that we'd have something on the books that would allow us to outright deny accepting applications if there's outstanding issues on any other projects in the city. So that is something I would look to take up in the future. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Roll call vote. Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to item G, one reading authorization to send letter of support to Army Corps of Engineers, page 16 in your packet, assigned to Councilor Berman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, once again. The city wishes to enter into a project partnership agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. This Section 111 project will prevent further shore damage at the Saco River and Camp Ellis. Be it ordered that the City Council authorize sending a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers initiating the process of entering into a project partnership agreement.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Berman, second by Councilor Johnston. Any discussion? Councilor Berman?
I'd just like to thank the city, Save Our Shores, Saco Bay, and all the others who've gotten us to this point. It's a historic moment to be sending this final letter of support to the Army Corps of Engineers for a cost of only $660,000 to the city to create the jetty spur. So congratulations to everyone.
Councilor Johnston?
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say that right along the same lines. Additionally, though, I would just say that for the public knowledge, this doesn't tie our hands to anything. I have received a few comments from people saying, where's the money going to come from? You haven't seen the PPA. We're just agreeing to discuss the PPA. We haven't seen it. We don't know what it will say. And at that point, we'll have a future conversation about whether or not we sign it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Roll call vote on this item. Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 to approve sending a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers. That brings us to item 10, new business. There is nothing on the agenda this evening. It brings us to item 11, administrative update. City Administrator Canrath.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick update. Nomination petitions were due last Friday, September 9th. There are two feature races. Ward 4 will have incumbent Mike Berman and Don Pylon on the ballot, and Ward 5, Phil Hatch was the only candidate to file. Our community satisfaction survey is currently underway. The week of August 29th, postcards were mailed to every household and business in the city, notifying residents and business managers of the opportunity to give input on a variety of city issues and asking them to take the approximately 10 to 12-minute survey. Alongside the Every Door direct mail outreach, we've shared this survey in our email newsletter and all social media sites several times. For those who can't complete the survey online, we've set up 4 drop-off locations. The Saco Hall Administrator's Office here on the second floor of City Hall, the Dyer Library, the Saco Scoop, and also Age-Friendly Saco's office at the Saco Community Center has the paper version. So thank you to these organizations for supporting this effort. So far, we've seen great success. As of September 9th, we have 565 surveys already completed. You can help us boost this number by sharing the survey with your friends and family who live in Saco. Find the survey and more information on our website at sacomaine.org/community-survey. And the survey does close September 19th, so please do it as soon as possible. Looking beyond the survey's close, we expect to receive a report on the results around the first week of November. And we will invite the Center for Research and Public Policy to a council meeting to present those results and discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for City Administrator Canrath? I would just like to say thank you for getting out the customer satisfaction survey. It's something that I know many councilors have been high on for many years, especially my time on council. So thank you to getting that out there. That brings us to item 12, council discussion and comment. Any council discussion and comment this evening? Seeing no council discussion and comment, item 13 is executive session. Is there a motion to enter executive session? Councilor Hatch?
Be it ordered that the City Council enter into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056, C, Economic Development Discussion with Attorney.
Motion's been made by Councilor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McPhail. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 to enter executive session. Executive session will be downstairs in the conference room in 5 minutes. There'll be a 5-minute recess downstairs in the conference room. Please come over to the blue table to sign the letter that needs to go out to the Army Corps as soon as possible. SOS at this time, if you'd like to come up and take a picture of the signing the document and post on your social media page, feel free to do so. Okay, welcome back, welcome back. About 7:51 here. If there's any, I'll entertain a motion to exit executive session.
So moved.
Counselor Hatch, is there a second?
Second.
Counselor Berman, any discussion on exiting executive session? Roll call vote, Counselor Purdy?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor McPhail?
Yes.
Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 at 6:51, excuse me, 7:51. Item 14, report from executive session. Don't believe there's a report from executive session, so we'll move on to item 15. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Counselor Hatch, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Johnston. Any discussion on adjourning? Roll call to adjourn. Counselor Purdy?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor McPhail?
Yes.
Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 to adjourn at 7:52. Have a great evening, everyone.